years old, had a red and white plaid checkered long sleeve shirt on, had short hair, couldn't quite see the face clearly, but I could tell it was a young white male, and he was just standing there staring at me, and I could see through him as well. He was translucent, and I could see my bedroom door right behind him. And then this is where I get the chills, and now I'm paralyzed. I can't move either, and I'm just staring at it, and I'm staring at it, and probably 30 seconds goes by, and then he drifts from the foot of my bed to my dresser, and it just floated. His legs didn't move. He went right up to my dresser, and he leaned on it like that with his arm, looking at me, just staring at me, just casually leaning with his arm on top of my dresser, just looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and then it just disappeared, just, boom, just vanished. As soon as he was gone, I was able to move. So I immediately got out of bed, put my clothes on, jumped in the truck, and I took off. And I went to my girlfriend's house. She just lived about 4 streets away. And I'm banging on their back door, because this is like midnight, 1 o'clock. And they come out and they open the door, and they said, "Well, you look like you just saw a ghost." And I go, that's what just happened. And I told them the story, and we sat around the kitchen table, and I stayed there the rest of the night. I didn't go anywhere. I was scared to go back to the house. So a year later, 6 months later, my best friend, we were still in high school, he came and lived with us, David Kearns. And he had this red and white checkered shirt, and we were going to go eat dinner one night. He just washed it, dried it, was hanging on a hanger on his door. And when we went to go get dressed, the shirt was gone. And he says, "Where'd the shirt go?" "Well, I don't know." Well, at any rate, we ended up finding the shirt about 2 months later in between his mattress and box spring, stuffed underneath the back corner of the bed, still on the hanger, and never had an explanation for that. Now, the particular sound that I'm talking about, when I told my girlfriend and her mother what had happened, I described that sound to them. So when I graduated from school, me and that girl lived together for 5 years. We were pretty poor. We lived in this little dumpy duplex type place. We're laying there in bed one night, and that noise happened, that click, that snap noise. And it was like everything got real quiet, like there was no noise, no crickets chirping, there was just no more noise. And she whispered to me, she said, was that the noise? And I said, "Yeah, that was it." And it was in the living room. And she said, "Well, get up and go look." And I said, "No, I'm too scared." And I had this little sawed-off 12 gauge with me, and I just had it in my hands, and I thought, if it comes through the door, I'm going to shoot it, and which isn't going to do any good anyhow. But at the moment, that was the thought that I had. Well, at any rate, so everything's real quiet, and then we hear some noises, and we were describing to ourselves what the noises were that we heard. And the noise was, the first thing we heard, just like this jiggle type noise, and then a smash bang boom. And then the second noise we heard is what appeared to be a spoon scraping the inside of a bowl. Now, coincidentally, she had just made a cake that night, and she left the bowl and the spoon on the kitchen counter. So the next morning when we got up, we had this big, the end of a Heineken beer barrel hanging on the wall, and it was on a big hook. You had to pick it up to get it off the hook. We found that laying on the floor, and the bowl that was on the counter, there was a whole bunch of scrape marks on the inside from the spoon, and we heard the spoon fall in the bowl and kind of, move half, kind of like that. So the noises that we heard, we described to ourselves as exactly what we had found in there. So I think that same sound that I heard, I think it's the interdimensional door opening when they come through into our realm. It makes that snap, sharp click type noise. Never heard that noise since. Don't really want to again.
Me either.
But that was kind of strange in a whole different house that situation happened with the same noise. So
But we had that same ghost with Maggie lived in the duplex next to us. I owned a duplex right next to my house that we lived in. And my tenant came in one night after work, and she says, I don't know what happened. She says, but there was somebody standing at the foot of my bed. I don't know who it was. Don't know how it got in here. I don't know how it got out. I said, what would it look like? She said, I couldn't tell who it looked like because it didn't have any features to look at, just a gray ghost. She says, this happened 2 nights in a row. I've lived there for years. And she says, it happened 2 nights in a row. She says, I'm scared stiff. I'm moving.
Really?
Yeah, this was all in the same, same place in Sarasota.
So it's the same ghost that you saw?
I think it was the same ghost, because we all have the same description. We can't really see the face clearly, but we can kind of see through it, and we see it as it, all of a sudden it's there, and then all of a sudden it disappears. And we have no idea. My grandfather lived right behind us in his house, had the same experience.
Speaking of that, I just remembered something. I'd totally forgotten about this. Before I saw the ghost, I don't know if you remember this or not, but you, me, and Dad were sitting in the living room. We were watching TV one night. I forgot about hearing this noise. I've heard this noise once before. It just came to me right now. But we're sitting there, and we heard this snap, click type noise. And we had a Beagle Basset Hound at the time, and it heard it, and it Cookie, and so
Cookie.
Yeah, and it popped up on all fours, and it walked up to the edge of the room, and it just kind of leaned forward. It was peering into the rest of the house, and its hair just went straight out, and it turned around and started peeing, and peed as it ran through the house into my bedroom to hide. So we were well armed at the time, so Dad grabbed a gun, I grabbed a gun, and we went through the back of the house, and we looking to see if a door had been pried open or a window was broken. Didn't find any evidence of any type of situation of a burglary, and we were kind of stumped that what made that noise. So now that I think about that, I think that ghost had made an entry at that particular time. The dog saw it, but we didn't.
Right.
And but I just remembered that had happened.
Well, I got a question for Grandma.
Yeah.
Okay, now that we have Grandma here, and that is, let's talk a little bit about the Mandela effect. Has anybody, had noticed anything? I mean, you've been around a little while, Grandma. Is there anything you remember? Specifically, I want to talk about the JFK assassination, vehicles. Okay, how many people were in the front? How many people were in the back? You remember, Grandma?
There was 2 in the front and 2 in the back, and there was 4 guys that walked on the outside with their car.
Are you sure that there were 2 in the front, 2 in the back?
There was Connolly, who was the governor or the senator. I forgot which he was. Anyway, Governor Connolly, I think it was.
Okay.
Boy, now when you say 2 in the front, now I'm trying to see, was there 2 or was there 1? But I know JFK and his wife were in the back, and I remember there was 4 people walking. And it was down there in Texas where the book factory was. But I've seen pictures where the person in the front had turned around. There was 2 people in the front, turned around and shot JFK.
And that wasn't there before, right?
Right.
Some changes like that. So that's what I'm interested in, because if anybody watching this video, if you just Google or go to YouTube, JFK, it might be different what you see on YouTube than what you remember. So I was just curious. Anybody else, or is there anything else, Grandma, that you remember that is different from what Google says it is?
I don't know what Google says it is.
You remember the scripture, the lion shall lay down with the lamb. You didn't even have to think about it. The lamb.
Yeah. The lion will lay with the lamb.
Now, if you Google that,
it lays down with the goat.
It says wolf.
A wolf, goat, wolf.
No more lion.
It was the lamb. The original was the lamb. The lion shall lay down with the lamb.
What is it now?
The lion. Now it's the wolf shall lay down with the lamb. And it never was the lamb shall lay down with the lion, supposedly. So.
Yeah, they're changing a lot of the phrases in scripture, and like a contradiction of it. And this is what they're calling the Mandela effect. whether it's spelling Fruit Loops on a cereal box or the biblical. I mean, they're changing different things. So what you see and what you remember, the two different things. They're not the same. And they're trying to say, well, that is not the way it was. Well, that is the way it was. It's not the way it is now. So this is the Mandela effect. This is the plane of the mind and the eyes of what you're seeing and what you're hearing to cause the confusion, you know.
What do you think's going on, Grandma? What's going on with?
I think it has a lot to do with what we're inhaling in our air that's causing these different changes within our brain thoughts, our brain wave.
Chemtrails.
Yeah.
And
The stuff we breathe in. Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know.
Anybody else have any other Mandela
Maybe
related?
not the Mandela effect, but just speaking of the JFK assassination. Of course, I don't really remember that because I wasn't old enough at the time. But just from the research that I've done on it, I've watched the YouTube videos, and I have seen some that somebody has taken that actually shows appears to be the driver of the vehicle turn around and shoot JFK. And if watched videos in slow motion, it appears to be that he's shot from the front because his head goes back. And I've read some stories on the autopsies that said that he had been shot from the front as well. Now, there's also some people that I've read on there that who were there that gave testimony that said that there were multiple shots fired, and one guy was almost hit by one of them, and he said it ricocheted off the curb where it had missed. Some of the trajectories that I have seen on some of the videos, you can see a vapor trail of a bullet coming from an elevation coming down on about a 45-degree angle, so would indicate that there was multiple shooters that did this. The story that they give, I actually went to where that was in Texas and took a tour of it and looked at it, and there is no way that shot could have been made from a multiple-story building.
The fifth floor, I think.
The fifth floor, something like that, and it was basically about a 200-yard shot.
At least.
And that's just not going to happen with the type of weapon that they say that was used. But from the videos that I saw and the testimonies of people that have talked about it, I think it was a close-range shot. The whole thing with Lee Oswald and all that is just a big cover story that
There was a driver and Connolly in the front seat. There was two in the front seat.
Yeah, there were two people in the front seat.
The driver was the one that turned around and shot Connolly, shot the other passenger, Connolly, the governor, and shot JFK.
And if you noticed, Jackie Kennedy, when that happened, if you watch what she's doing, she appears to be in the video that I saw in reference to the driver being the shooter. She actually saw him do that. She was starting to crawl out of the vehicle right as the shot was being fired, apparently thinking she was going to get shot next. So,
but then she grabbed her husband because his head fell over onto her.
Right, and
she had a pink suit on and pink hat, and she had blood all over her
so
from his head.
I would say from the evidence that's presented that it was from the front.
It was an assassination from the front.
Absolutely, yeah.
From the driver.
Yeah.
All right, well, hand me the phone because we want to put Doug. We want to put first. He's got to get some screen time on here. So, open line here, open subject. What would you like to talk about, Mr. Put Y'all First? Doug.
Put me on the spot here.
Anything you want. Tell us all your secrets.
The weather's clearing up and it's beautiful.
What do you think? Let me ask you a question. What do you think about, you've heard Grandma, you've heard Chuck talking about the Mandela effect. What do you think that is? Have you experienced anything at all where
just from what's been in some of the scriptures, I think they're like manipulating time somehow. I'm a fan of Project Pegasus and Andrew Saggio, and they got devices that they got a chronovisor, they can view time. They've got you know, the machines to go back in time and change things. You know, I don't know what the purpose is for them wanting to do minor things, or changing scripture is not minor, but all these little changes they're making is like, kind of strange, and for what purpose, I don't know. But that's what I think they're doing, is they're using time manipulation to change things, which is kind of strange, because you think if they went back in time and changed it, it's been like that all along. It should have been like that all along. So when we read Lion with the Lamb, and if they went back and changed it to wolves, it should have been wolves way back then. It's kind of it's real contradictory what they're doing and what point of time they're going back and doing it.
Well, that's a good theory. That it has something to do with time travel and what have you. I've got a couple theories, but that's all they are, theories. As to what may be going on. If you wanna
flip this thing
we'll
around.
flip it around, I guess.